So if you're looking to get into property, or you're already in property but you're looking for the best yielding cities in the UK, you're in the right place, because in this video we're going to be sharing with you the best yielding cities in the UK according to Zoopla, which is a massive buying and selling and rental platform. So they're really well positioned and very well qualified to give you this data. But before we give you this data, before we give you that, the position I'd like you to see you have right this second is your thumb on that like button. Really helps the algorithms, and as I say all the time, really helps my ego. But let's get into it. The best cities in the UK according to Zoopla. So how have they come about with working out which these best cities are? I think it's important to say this at the start. The way they've figured this out is by yield. And I'm not going to go too much in depth on yield because I've done a yield here, but a yield basic, I talked about yield and ROI and return on capital employed on this video. But basically a yield is a quick calculation you can do to see how hard and how much returns you're getting on your investment. They base this on gross yields, which is not as powerful as return on capital employed, but a gross yield on a vanilla buy to let is a very good indicator to see whether or not it works. Yields are very important at the moment, especially with all the cost of living crisis going on. The stronger the yield, and the inflation going on. Again, I'm not to talk about inflation and interest rates going up, but the stronger the yields, the more protection you've got against interest rate rises. And I've done talks about interest rate rises on a video here. Don't worry, if you want to watch the full video, keep on watching. The video suggestions will be in the description. But it's very important to get a strong return in property. And a gross yield is basically your yearly income divided by the purchase price times by 100. That will give you your gross yield. And this is what the numbers Zoopla's use to get this top 10 list. But as I said, if you're going for, it's good to qualify a deal and an area, but once you're going a little bit deeper into that, make sure you do a little bit more due diligence on your net yield, which deducts all the running costs of the property, like your mortgages, etc., and adds on all the buying costs and the refurbishment costs on top of your investment. And the most important one is return on capital employed. As I said, watch the video on that if you want to work out how to do those figures. But let's get into this. Might not be a surprise to, let's rewind it around. It's not a surprise to me, but it might be a surprise to you that all the top yielding locations are in the north and in Scotland of the UK. We're talking about the whole of the UK, the whole, pretty much the top 10. I don't believe there's one on this top 10 that's outside of that. So the list goes like this. It is East Ayrshire. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's in Scotland. It's West Dunsdunshire. I'm definitely not said that correctly. I am dyslexic, so before anybody slaughters me in the comments. It is North Lancashire, Renfrewshire. Should have probably put these in Siri before I started recording, but we're in now. We've got North, which is the first one I didn't pronounce correctly the first time. I'm not going to do it again. And then we've got Barnsley, we've got Hartlepool, we've got Middlesbrough, we've got Sunderland, and then we've got Inverclyde. I'm not sure, I'm definitely not saying them correctly, but the list is going to be there so you can see them yourself. And the yields are 8.4%, from 7.55% to 8.4%. And you can see the average purchase prices. I'm a remote property investor, and the reason I invest remotely is because I can buy properties at this price with strong yields. And one of the reasons it's important to have strong yields is because when your rates are going up all the time, if you've got a strong yield generally and a lower purchase price, your mortgage on a 70k mortgage a little while ago, when you're getting them for like 2.5%, was about £100. When you 70k purchase, sorry. And then they've gone up double to 5%. It's like £200. And if you're renting these for like 5, 6, 650 kind of prices, which you can for them purchase prices, you've got a lot of margin in there. And this is where, when you buy properties that's sometimes high cash flowing but not such a strong yield. So for example, I've got a property in Southend-on-Sea, and the mortgage on that at 3.5% is £500 a month. If that doubles to 7%, which I think it could, especially if we go into a variable rate at the end of the fixed term, that's going to be £1,000 a month on my mortgage. So at the moment, it rents as I rented it as a service accommodation, but if it rented as a single let, it'd rent for about £1,100 a month. So as a single let, £1,100 a month, if that mortgage rate doubles, I've not got much protection in there. If you use the first examples, and I said you got £100 mortgage that doubles to £200 and you rent it for £650 or even £500, it gives you a lot more margin of protection. You've got to do more figures around it, but it gives you a good indication of how much vulnerability it's got to rate rises. There's a big discussion as well all the time about capital appreciation and should you invest in the north or should you not. That tech makes it possible to invest in the north at the moment, 100%. One of the things you want to do is research the area correctly. I can support you on this. This is exactly what I do and help people with. So give me a DM in the comments if you want support on that. But use things like property data. Tech is there that helps us to be able to invest from anywhere today because we've got the data and tech, and we can use tech to do video calls and all these different things we couldn't do back 10, 15 years ago. There's a massive shift in wealth at the moment as well, where if you watch this video, the biggest wealth transfer in property we've seen in our generation, all the capital appreciation has been predominantly in a lot of northern areas or areas evacuating London. But our main city, London's been the lowest growth area in the last couple of years. I'm not going to go too much into that, but there is a big shift in these other areas with the levelling up agenda from the governments, the powers of the north, and people just being able to work online more on companies since COVID, more understanding that we don't necessarily need somebody in the office all the time. You're getting people commuting down from the north now to London because they only have to go in 1 day a week. So they're happy to do that 1 day commute. And as transport gets faster, it's just making the world smaller, the online presence and the online technology you can use to run business, do meetings and etc. So it's more than doable. I coach people on this all the time, but if you want to learn how to find an area or what we do in my area, watch this video. This will really, really help you on how to find your location and how to build that wealth within the area. But let's lead into looking where are the worst locations in the UK. And no surprise, all in the south. So at the top of the list is Kensington and Chelsea. You're getting a 3.3% yield. Basically, your gross yield usually at least halves on when you bring it down to a net yield, depending on the level of the refurbishment and all these other things, at least half. So if in most cases, at least half, you're getting a 1.1% return. That's way behind inflation. That's way behind stock markets. That's way behind even bonds and things like that. So do you want the hassle of having a tenant and a headache for such a low return? In my opinion, no. And the capital appreciation is not even there anymore in London, because that used to be the caveat. Okay, fair enough, the returns are low, but the capital appreciation is so strong that who cares about what I get monthly on it? I'm going to get strong wealth building through my capital appreciation. That's just gone in London, and it has done for a long period of time. The barrier to entry is just so high, the capital you need to get into there. But look, on this list here is City of Westminster, Derbyshire, Dowes, Richmond upon Thames, St Albans, St Bucks, City and County of City of London, Rydal, New Forest and Purbeck. I can pronounce these ones a lot better because I live around here, and these are all local areas that I'm familiar with, much like unlike the ones from largely from Scotland. So apologies anybody from Scotland for me butchering those. But also what I'm going to do as well is show you, this is according to Zoopla. If you go on 10 different websites, they'll tell you 10 different areas that are hotspots. But Zoopla's a pretty strong place to get these hotspots because they've got a lot of data. Just because it's got a good yield doesn't mean the rental demand's always there, but they're basing this not just on the cheapest price and the highest potential yield, they're basing this on rental statistics as well as the buying prices, and they've got a lot of statistics around renting because they a platform is where you rent properties at. But look, I'm not going to read all these out, I'm not going to butcher all these names because some of them I won't be able to pronounce because of my dyslexia and I've not pre-prepped myself. But have a look, East Midlands, this is where these are the highest yielding areas in each area. So East Midlands, you've got east of England, you've got London, you've got the North East, you've got Scotland, South East, South Wales, Wales, which has been on fire over the last couple of years, West Midlands, North Yorkshire and Humber. And that kind of will give you a bit of a picture, but please do not be location restricted with your investing. If you want support with that, I do workshops all the time. The link for the workshop to support you, how you find an area, even if it's 250 miles away, like my location, we'll do it all on the workshop, tell you how to find the deals, how you can then fund them and how you manage refurbs. And the same methods can be used locally, so you don't have to worry if you live in an area that the prices are already pretty good. But the barrier to entry is what kills most people. If you've only got 20, 30k, I say only, still a significant amount to have, but 20 or 30k is just not going to buy you anything in London, Midlands, not even Manchester anymore. So you've got to be realistic with the budget and access to funds and the access to skill you've got. This is why I talk a lot about that on the property delta matrix of finding out what level you should start at. And sometimes it's just not as sexy as these big gurus and these courses saying be financially free in 3 months, use other people's money. Look, if you've got no experience whatsoever, the only way you're going to do a deal in London is if you loan 300k, something like that. If you've got no experience, it's not responsible. And who's going to lend you it unless you've got a fairy godmother that really, really trusts you? And it's not responsible to loan that. If you go to a bank with no experience to loan money on the development, they're just going to tell you no, because it's called responsible lending. And you should be a responsible borrower. So even if you have got access to that, make sure you can deliver on that, because a deal on paper is one thing, delivering that with builders and the projects and planning is two different things. And that's the typical deals you have to do in London. But look, if you want support on that, please put in use the link below, bit.ly/invest remotely. There's 3 workshops. If there's not one coming up, just put your name on that list there and it will notify you when the next one's coming up. And thank you so much for watching my videos and support me. And remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, you never live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we do that. Hit the thumbs up, really helps my egos, as I said. And please give it a share if you think someone will find that useful. Make sure you watch these videos that YouTube are suggesting for you now.